I am Bonneau Ansley, an active real estate agent and founder of Ansley Real Estate, Christie's International, an award-winning Atlanta-based real estate brokers that did over $3 billion in sales last year.
And I'm Chris Tuff, one of the first advertisers to work directly with Mark Zuckerberg in 2006. I've since gone on to be the best-selling author of The Millennial Whisperer and Save Your Asks.
And this is Brokering Billions. This podcast is about uncovering the hustle, perseverance, mindset, and tricks that are used by the top real estate agents in the country to help you take your business to the next level. In today's episode of Brokering Billions, we're on the sunny beaches of Jupiter, Florida, and we're interviewing our friend, Rob Thomson. Rob is an example of somebody that has dropped out of school at age 14 and jumped into a family business of selling real estate.
Rob is a master at actually getting in touch with those people that are impossible to get in touch with. Ever heard of Tony Robbins? Well, he's going to tell the story of how he landed Tony Robbins without even having known him. Please welcome Rob to the podcast.
Well, it's another episode of Brokering Billions. I'm Bonneau Ansley.
And I'm Chris Tuff.
And we're here in our Atlanta headquarters at Ansley Real Estate, Christie's International. What a day we've got planned for you listeners. We've got Rob Thomson. Rob is an absolute stud. Quick intro to Rob. When I started in the business less than 12 years ago, I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew I wanted to be a high producer. So I started calling and meeting with all the top producers in the country. And I'd call them and say, hey, I'm a real estate agent in Atlanta. Can I come down and meet you, take you to dinner? So one of my first people I called was Rob in Jupiter. And I flew down there. He picked me up in a Rolls Royce. I stayed on his yacht, and I proceeded to learn so much about the industry of what I wanted to do. And this guy was selling all kinds of real estate, and he took me under his wing. And now, you know, I'm here talking to Rob. And guys, we're going to learn so much about Rob during this episode. He's going to teach and mentor the new agents that are on listening and the guys that are doing 100, 200 million. So Rob, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me in.
So guys, everybody loves numbers, right? So Rob, last year in 2021, did 445 million. 445, right? He's got a team size of 4 people. He's been in the industry for 35 years. And Rob, let's just start from the beginning, right? I think you and I share some superpowers. One is being dyslexic and one is being ADD, right?
Absolutely.
So how did you get in this business? What's your background? How was school? When did you start? When did you know you were going to start selling real estate? Was it a family business? How did you jump in?
I got out of school in the 8th grade and started detailing cars. It was an easy business to get into and did really well with it. And ended up with the store and sold it when I was in my mid-20s. But I was detailing real estate people's cars. And I was like, if these people are driving, Cadillacs, Mercedes, I shouldn't be washing their car for them. And I thought, man, the competition can't be that hard. So, it was, my mom was in the business. And as a child, I rode around in her car, listening to her pull over and talk to people. It was the time I hated it. She'd be talking to people nonstop about why their grass was green, any way to get in to talk to them and build rapport. And it was actually the education of a lifetime.
Well, let me put that in perspective, listeners. So one of our other guests was Jonathan Spears. And at 14, I think Jonathan Spears graduated from college.
He started college at 14.
And about that time, you dropped out of school, Rob, right?
Yeah.
And you and Jonathan Spears, who's in Northern Florida, y'all did the same amount of volume last year. So what I'm getting at is there's a lot of different ways to broker billions.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more on, take us through this kind of story arc. So you go from washing the cars to all of a sudden, was it like an epiphany? I need to get into real estate. Talk about that transition into real estate and then how that grew over time.
My mom convinced me to get into real estate. I had to take the license 5 times because I am terrible at books and words and letters and whatnot. And I finally passed it, got into real estate. And at that time, you were not allowed to do leases as an agent. You had to have a lawyer do them. I thought, this is perfect. No paperwork, let the lawyer do it. And so for about a year and a half, I did rentals and actually crushed at that, working with local developers and finding out who'd be owning them next. So I had a great time doing that. And my mom tricked me into showing a property for her because she was going to be gone. And one taste of a sale commission, and I was on my way. And I'm like, I can get the lawyers to do the paperwork on this too. And so that's how it all started.
And that's amazing. So Waterfront Properties is Rob's business, and that's a business that Rob owns. Rob, tell us about the actual company.
We have about 80 agents, do $1 billion a year in business. We have a title and company and insurance and mortgage and yacht brokerage and a bunch of affiliate companies that go with it. But it's been a great business. We're a very different culture than most companies. A lot of accountability here, a lot of communication. It's very different than normal general real estate in our market.
I love it. So, one of the themes that I'm sensing, especially with you two, is the importance of a mentor. Did you have a mentor yourself, Rob, or did you kind of just have to learn by doing? Because you were such a great mentor to Beno here, right? And getting him on his way and teaching him some of those tricks to the trade. Did you have a mentor kind of getting into it?
My mother taught us a whole lot. And she was our broker here and the owner of the company at the time. I became a partner with her and later bought her out. But what we do today is still a lot of her thinking and thought patterns still live in the company today. The way she taught us, a lot of those basics are really still here. There's been a digital switch, but the basics she still works with us today. In fact, we just had her company 90th birthday party for her. She reads every contract we write, and she's still very involved on multiple levels. When I bought her half of the business, I said, "You're incredible. You act like nothing happened." She said, "What do you mean?" She said, "I got some of your money and nothing's changed. I'm still your boss." Got in her car and drove away.
Wow.
But
amazing.
What she taught us is the fundamentals still stand today in the company. And she was a great teacher. And there were other people along the way, the agents that were working for us, so many of them had different ideas that we then took to different levels and implemented them. So it wasn't always the mentor above. Sometimes it was the mentor below.
Well, that's incredible. So do you still feel that real estate drives you, makes you wake up in the morning? I mean, I know that you sell yachts and have a yacht brokerage affiliation and company as well. I think you even build boats as well. So do you need other things other than real estate to be fulfilled at this moment, or does this still drive you every day to get up in the morning and kick ass?
No, honestly, all the other companies are run by my partners who are much smarter than me in those categories. I'm more of a rainmaker that sends business to them, but I don't, hands-on run any of those other businesses. Real estate's the chess game I love to play. Between the real estate and our charity work's a huge part of our company and our culture. And that's probably the most consuming thing I do. Real estate's the thing that allows me to do what we're truly passionate about, which is giving.
I love it. So, looking at your numbers, you absolutely crush it, right? So, you could have gotten into this business under your mom's wing with her as your mentor and just kind of flatline. What do you kind of credit to your motivation to continue to push to that next level? Like, what makes you that great agent continually year after year?
Another way to say it is like you were a good agent, right? At a certain point, and then something switched, and you said, "Geez, I don't want to stay mediocre." Maybe you were 20, maybe you were 25, and you just kind of switched. Said, "Look, I want to dominate the Jupiter market." Right? What was that moment like? What was that turning point? And then what did you do differently?
Fear of being second.
It's a consistent theme with our guests. Yeah.
Second's last place to first place. I haven't been second since I've been in the business in 35 years. So I'm not interested, other than when I was in rentals, I didn't do sales yet. But once I got into sales, in our market had been first. So I'll quit before I become second. But that way I dodge that bullet. But no, it's just being competitive and loving the game. If you don't love it, it's hard to be first. When you love what you do and you love working with the people and finding what they think, especially in today's market, when everybody was acting like, there's nothing to sell and there's no inventory, I had a complete different look at it. It's like, no, there's inventory. It's just not sitting on the shelf. It's not easy peasy like it used to be. How do we do this game differently? So all you had to do is identify the people that wanted to sell and find what they want. People that wanted to sell wanted to buy something else. I'd move, but there's nothing for me to move to. So we took our marketing department, we had 20 people in our marketing department, and put them into doing all kinds of aggressive mailings and things to get properties for our buyers that would be sellers. And that's how we got the listings. As soon as obviously we had the listing, because we had sold them something, we already had it sold 50% of the time that they were sold before we put them on the market. So,
you were one of the first guys to kind of send out the mailer, and maybe you coined this as, "Hey, what's your number?" And I kind of stole that.
Your make me move number.
Yeah. What's your number? Like, "Hey, look, you're sitting in this house I sold you 2 years ago. What makes you get out of that house?" And you use that and stay consistently talking to your clients, right? We've got a lot of listeners here that might be doing $3 million of volume, maybe $10 million of volume, and they want to get to the next level, right? Love to know your trajectory on, did you double your production year after year to get to be doing over 400 million? Or was there ever a time where you stayed at a certain number year over year? And what keeps you moving, and how do you reinvent yourself every year?
I can remember meeting people that were doing bigger numbers. That's one of the benefits doing real estate conference around the world. You meet people that are doing big numbers and you hear some of the stuff and you're thinking, well, if they can do it, I can do it. I will tell you that I watched a Tony Robbins video one time. It was probably 25 years ago. The market had really tanked. I was in trouble. I'm sitting there watching water run through my roof at the time and going, how do you make things work from here? Repo guy's looking for the car. And I watched Tony Robbins one night, and that day the developer in a development where I do a lot of work had said, "I'll always have the big stuff and you'll always have the little stuff. You're not exactly a country club guy." And oh yeah. And I was like, I was insulted. But at the end of the day, I'm watching this video or this TV show with Tony Robbins, and he was talking about self-limiting beliefs. And he was talking about how people think this is good enough for me. I'm here. That's really good enough for me. I mean, I'm an 8th grade dropout. I'm dyslexic. I got ADD. I got the whole list of excuses down pat. I should be able to only go to here. I should be really thrilled with this. I should be grateful where I'm at. When I watched Tony talking about self-limiting beliefs, I said, that is me. That's me he's talking about. And so 6 months later, I did a postcard, and that postcard said 6 homes sold over $2.5 million this year in Admiral's Cove, and Rob Thomson sold all 6. It was the first time I'd sold a home over $1 million. It's because I changed my beliefs and what I thought I could do. And from that one inspiring video, my business changed dramatically. That was absolutely a turning point in my career, without any question. The belief I could do it, and then deciding to own it and not listening to the thing in my head going, well, you're not going to be able to do that one.
That's awesome. I love
Be
it.
as
So it's a
bad.
mindset shift. There's a mindset shift, right?
Yeah. And in 21, in 20, I did 229 million. And that was a new record for me. And then last year I did 445 million. And this year I've done, I think, probably 150 million so far.
Do you have a goal for this year?
I want to break 500.
Awesome. So it sounds like, listening to your story, Rob, you had that mindset shift, and that was a critical piece, which really came on the foundation of some of these things that your mother taught you. You fast forward to today, right? You are in this position. You continue to go to the next level. What else do you credit to this growth, right? I mean, especially in the digital side, right? I mean, you could have just kept doing things the same way and done just the mailers. And so can you talk a little bit about what's worked there?
The digital is a key component. Our manager is a much smarter guy than I am. I mean, he's Vermont genius, and he introduced me to the digital side. And having smarter people around you at all the other components is a critical part. And we clearly have a lot of smarter people here than me. So it's being smart enough to have smarter people is critical. It's been a key component to that. But doing the digital in today's world, I mean, you can, the average broker is going to go, well, I know this guy that's going to be interested in your house. If they can't data mine their website's junk.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be able to look up and see how many people looked in Admiral's Cove. I can tell you, if I look at my database, I have 15,000 people that looked at Admiral's Cove, one of the communities I specialize in. And if I want to reach out to people and talk about, hey, I've got a new listing come available or whatever, I can email 15,000 people. My average competitor can talk about 3 or 4 people he can make a phone call to. It's dinosaur world.
So I mean, I love it. And I mean, and I'm sure your competition is like, what the, like, really? Like, how's he keep doing this stuff, right? And it's building out the right team to support you and take you to the next level, right?
So many of their buyers are registered on my website. So when I'm doing the emails, I don't know who everybody is, obviously, with 15,000 of them to that one neighborhood. But quite often they'll say, well, I'm working with so-and-so, but he never called me about these things. They're waiting for something to come available. If you're waiting for something to come available today in this market, you're doing it wrong. And you can say it to every buyer you meet. I say the same thing. So what the realtors you're talking to are telling you is, I'll let you know when something comes available. So what they're going to do is put you in the bidding water late in the game versus all the people who knew about it first. So what I'm trying to do is find the properties before they go into the game, get my clients those properties, and then we put them in the MLS so that everybody can see who sold them. But buyer after buyer will call me and go, I've seen all these properties come on in 1 hour, you've sold them. I'm like, no, I sold them a week ago. And what happened?
I love it. Amazing.
So it's 80% or better of my deals right now are double dips.
Wow. And so talk about that prospecting strategy that you've seen work for you. I mean, obviously, I would guess that in Jupiter, you've seen the buyer change over time, right? It's gotten probably much larger in terms of where people are coming from to go down there. Talk a little bit about those prospecting strategies for you that have worked out the best.
So I do a ton of digital prospecting. You mean prospecting for the buyer or the seller?
For the buyer.
So all of our buyer prospecting is digital for the most part. I mean, we do marketing to talk about my story or things we do as a way to educate the public, but we do no housing advertising in print. Nobody looks at a newspaper or magazine trying to find a house. They want to get educated or entertained. Mm-hmm. But we do all the buyer searching on the internet. And with that, we can reach back out to them. It's pretty hard to reach back to somebody through a piece of paper.
Right.
But dinosaur world. But when we do a lot of that through there. But the prospecting for the buyers is all internet, and I'm on the phone nonstop. When I say I'm on the phone so much. See the treadmill?
Wow.
Look at that office.
Yeah, love it.
Rob, what fascinated me.
That's my young son, Jack, that just graduated high school at college. That is, yeah, exactly. That is now learning like I learned, sitting in here and being part of the game and everything. But I stand on the treadmill for a few miles a day and talk on the phone nonstop. I've got a list of people I call every day. I still use a paper calendar book to write all my calls on that aren't digital, one of these deals, and sit and call people all day. But I'm always trying to be in contact with 50 people a day or more. And not all of them are sellers or buyers. A lot of those are bird dogs, people that introduce me to other people, builders, accountants, lawyers. You've got to work all those circles. And the way I work those circles to prospect with them is by bringing them business. So I sell a house to somebody, I'll introduce them to the money managers, I'll introduce them to local accountants, to the local lawyers, family offices, all the people that they're going to be in need in. I try to hook them all together. And then those people turn around and hand me business. And it's like one self-feeding circle.
Rob, when I came down to visit you, and I've been down several different occasions, but one time you could tell at any given time who was on your website and what houses they were looking at. And I think you ended up picking up the phone and saying, hey, I just wanted to know about 123, Banana Street. And you knew that person was looking at it 15 minutes ago online. And you actually called them because you had the data from your technical guy to see that this guy was looking at this house. And he spent 7 minutes on the site and he looked at 23 pictures. So maybe you called him within 3 minutes. That's incredible. And what you said to the guy is, hey, look, I'm actually going to be in that neighborhood in an hour. Would you like to meet over there at the house? And the house was already on this guy's mind. You were stalking, if you will, and saw that he was looking because you have these people register to get information on your site. And I thought that was just ingenious. I came back to Atlanta and go, oh my God, this guy
Another level.
is another level from a technical standpoint. And then you're right there to call the guy and get right there. I mean, it's unbelievable. And that goes back to all those people that have registered with you on your site, correct?
Oh yeah. Stalkers are amateurs. I mean, we take it to a whole new level, but I was sitting my son-in-law was the punter for the Falcons in your neighborhood, Matt Bosher. And I'm sitting there watching his
By the
game.
way, I never got him a house, Rob. Did you refer him to me on a house situation?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm sitting there watching his game and I see Tony Robbins go on my site. And I'm thinking, I wonder if it's him or somebody registered under his name. So I called him and he answers the phone and he says, he's laughing. And he said, I can't believe it's you. And I could tell by the voice it was him. And I said, why can't you believe it's me? He said, listen to this. And you could hear the screeching sound. And that was the tires hitting the tarmac. He said, I just logged in 1,000 feet ago. I just got connection. He goes, you're good. And he said, can you meet me at the breakers in the morning? And I grabbed the next flight out and flew to the breakers and took them out looking at houses. But that's how well it works. We got Roger Ailes, Fox News guy, and sold him a $37 million house from our website because you can react fast and see who's looking. I can see the city and state they're sitting in when they do it. I geofenced Florida so that anytime a buyer flies into Florida and logs into the internet, if you're one of the 146,000 people I have registered on my site, it'll email the agent that I've assigned you to and say, your buyer that was in Atlanta yesterday is in West Palm Beach today. So you can turn the heat up and start calling them more.
That's insane.
That is insane.
Every time they save a favorite, it emails the agent to say, your buyer just saved 123 Elm Street as a favorite. You need to call them. If the favorite property drops in price, it emails the agent, says, call Mr. Smith, 123 Elm Street just dropped in price. So the system's very intelligent.
And that's a proprietary system that your technical guy, your genius that works for you built.
Yes, it is in REW, was the manufacturer in Canada, and tons of the customization work and everything was done here, and all the optimization was done by our 20 some people in our marketing department.
So take us through that call. I mean, because from I used to have well, what I tell a lot of advertisers and marketers is that you got to flirt to convert, right? Like, so, especially with house buying, you've got to create that relationship before you go in and they're ready for that kind of call to action. Hey, let's go look at this house. It's time, right? Obviously, you're getting some of those indications from the website that they're interested because of what they're doing. But where's that kind of balance as you reach out to these people? Take us through what a phone call kind of sounds like from you. Like, do you go right in? Because it can be creepy to some people, right? Like being like, what is happening?
Oh, they just signed up and put their name and phone number and email in there, so they know they can be contacted, especially in today's world. But nobody's looking for a lazy agent. If they're a real buyer, they're looking for an aggressive agent. If you were going to go to, you guys were going to come down here and buy a house, and you went on a half a dozen websites, 4 of the 6 never called you. 1 of them called you once, and another one called you 4 or 5 times over a 10-day period. Which one do you perceive is going to work the hardest to find you a home? Which one would you call? You're going to call that person you feel earned your business and is aggressive and hardworking. You're like, oh my God, this lady's unreal. She keeps calling. She's a tiger. That's the one you're going to call back. So the Harvard Business School study on internet leads, if you read that, will tell you that the average time on a site is 5.5 minutes, and you have under 6 minutes to get them or you lose them. When people step off your site, they're no longer interested in talking to you. They're in that mode during that 5 or 6 minutes they're on your site. Depending how good your site is, if you look at the Google Analytics, you can see the average time on your site. That's the clock you have to beat. You have to reach them before they get off the site. So if the site emails you and says they're on the website right now and you can pick up the phone and start calling them, they're interested in talking.
No, pick up the phone and don't have an automated email response back. And I think that's a super tactic that you use. Would you say that, the biggest tactic that you have from a technical standpoint that keeps you ahead of your competition is your technical side?
Oh, definitely. It's the technical side is a big player. And then our relationships in the community with so many people is a big part of it. But that technical side is the reason those people with a relationship continue to use you.
And then your outreach back to the community. I mean, you are doing a lot with animal rescue, right? I think that's one of your passions. And then you do a lot with the local hospital and a variety of other charities, which always keeps you out within the community. Obviously, would you say that is equally important than your technical side that you have?
I think the local people do not want to see you selling a ton of big houses and being greedy about it. Certainly, it's not our culture. Our culture is all about giving and giving freely. Being involved in the community is definitely an important part of anyone's business. You should give back. I believe that both spiritually and personally. I just think that's the right thing to be doing. But yeah, we're involved. I'm the vice president of Big Dog Ranch Rescue, which is the largest cage-free, non-kill dog shelter in the world. We have 650 dogs today. I'm involved with the Hanley Foundation for people that struggle with addiction, and done a lot with American Cancer Society. We built a gym for the Tequesta Police Department and Fire Department last year, so the guys could work out without having to go into a gym and deal with COVID situations. We're finishing a gym right now for the Juneau Police Department and Fire Department. For those guys.
Well, Rob, you're doing everything, right? So I want to go back. I want to get deep a little bit on this for the listeners out there that might be struggling or might have struggled in school and things like that. So let's go back to 8th grade, right? You had friends that continued to go through high school. They went to college, right? Did you ever, in your mind, you're 16 years old, you're detailing somebody's Mercedes or Cadillac, school wasn't your thing. when did you kind of find your superpower, right? And what is that superpower, right? I think it's your salesmanship, right? And your connection with people. Did you ever have a low point, when you should have been in high school, to say, hey, how am I going to use what I've got in my makeup of my body and my personality? And when you found that thing that you had that you could do better than anybody else, did you find that when you should have been in high school there, and you got, look, I'm going to be okay? And did you, and follow-up question, did you see yourself selling over $400 million and making X amount of gross commissions every year when you should have been in high school when you were 16 years old? Was there a low point and then a high point?
At that time when I was in high school, I wouldn't say there was a low point there, because I was loving it and we were doing business. And then we opened up a second store. And
on the detail side?
On the detail side, yeah. As a kid, I thought I was crushing it. I was making large money for a kid and multiple cars. And, I felt like I was on top of the world, and my eye wasn't mature. My brain wasn't mature enough at that time to realize where I was going. But I will say that the whole process of having those car waxing businesses and learning how to build the repeat business and build that raving fan customer, it was a critical step in the learning of doing what we do today. I learned a lot doing that business, and I enjoy it. And, and you can't get in real estate too young, because everybody knows how much experience you have if you're 20. So it was a critical step. I enjoyed it a lot.
Rob, I get this feeling that you have a lot of stories. You've already told us a couple really good ones. I mean, the Tony Robbins ones, it's almost unbelievable, right? So I want to hear from you. What is that one story that you haven't told us today that you love telling to especially younger agents or newer agents that demonstrates a point? What are some of give us your best story, Rob?
You mean like for a new agent?
Yeah.
It's funny. They all think they've got it really hard. And when they tell you how hard they have it and how difficult it was, I'm like, let me take you back. I got out of school in the 8th grade. I don't read or write well. You think you've got it tough. Let me tell you, we didn't have any mailings. We didn't have any websites. I had to knock on doors, dial 411 for every number, or look through a phone book. We had to look through a thing called a microfiche back then and try to figure out what properties were and what sizes. The amount of research we had to do then that you have at your fingertips now is nothing. And I'm like, look, I can remember being so broke that I was hiding my car from the repo guy, and I would hide the car at this tennis place down the street and walk home. And I can remember when I first got my house back from my ex-wife gave me one of the houses back. She was a great housekeeper. She kept all three. But at the end of the day, I get this house back. The water's leaking through the roof. I had a couch to sleep on, no furniture. And I had $25. I went to the grocery store and spent $15 on canned food, so I knew it wouldn't go bad. I spent $10 and put it in the gas. Now I have no money. I go hide the car from the repo guy. $15 worth of canned food is very heavy. I walk a mile home with it. I get home. I'm sitting there in the only chair I have in the kitchen, and I'm going, oh my God, no can opener, no money to buy one with. You're telling me you got it tough? I remember walking back to the car to get a screwdriver to open that can of beans to eat it. I used to put gallons of water in my freezer and then freeze them all night and put them in the refrigerator, because when I was gone during the day, I turned the power off so the bill wouldn't be bigger. So you want to compare your stories with me, we can go down that path if you want, but you seem to be living a pretty nice life, and I see a Mercedes outside. So don't tell me how hard your stress is on getting started in this business. You have a computer, you have a car, you got a house. There's always a story worse than mine or worse than theirs. And helping them understand how tough it could have been seems to make them open their eyes as to, we've got it made in today's world. You have access to all the information at your fingertips. You can move at the speed of light if you choose to. Big difference today.
So Well, I've got one question because I need some closure to that story. How long did it take you to get out of that hole? Like, I mean, when was it, like were you one sale away? Like how long?
No. Oh no. I built up IRS debt, did all kinds of stuff, made a mess of things first. But that was another learning experience that was great. But it probably took a couple of years of working. And then I went into the mode of taking every dime I got and paying off my house, and then buying another house and paying that off, and letting those two pay for the next one. And I just kept buying houses. And the big lesson in real estate is, when you upgrade your income, don't upgrade your lifestyle. Because the minute you upgrade your lifestyle, you're just eating up all that money that should be your future nest egg. Big mistake.
Yeah, that's really, really impactful story there, right? Everybody has something that a curve in life came, and what you do with that curve to make you stronger and to make your plan better for the future. And that's what you've done, Rob. And that's pretty great. I've told a lot of people that I'm smart enough to know how dumb I am, right? So and I think that has helped me figure out how to backfill my weaknesses and my liabilities, right? So, you can't read real well, you can't write real well, but you're running a company, you're running a team. How have you backfilled those positions where you might struggle in to have an amazing company and to have a great team?
Let me answer one thing first before that. Of all the people I've coached in my career, you've got to be the fastest learning guy I've ever coached. I remember when I met you, when we were in Atlanta talking about stuff, you were making notes on all kinds of stuff, and you were going to go implement everything. I'm thinking, this young guy cannot possibly implement all of these things. And you had this attitude of, I'm going to do them all. I'm going to do them all. You were going to attack it. And I'm like, I think he's nuts. And
you're not the first.
I'm like, then he's calling me up and telling me, I got this, I did this, and I did that. And then I added these things to it. And I'm like, oh my God, he's bolting stuff onto stuff. I thought I overloaded him. There was no overloading you. You just have that drive that's uncommon. It was amazing to watch you implement things and follow things and call. You were like calling up for more advice. It was truly amazing to work with you, especially in your younger years.
Well, thanks, Rob. I wouldn't be here without guys like you giving me the secrets to y'all's success, which has helped me get to where I am. So thank you for that.
What was your question again?
Question was, Rob, from your makeup of your team. Yeah, right. Both of us like, and then I was going to look for Chris for help, but he's ADD too.
Yeah.
So no, at the end of the day, like what a lot of listeners want to know, when should they start hiring their first assistant, their second assistant? How many people should they have on their team? How do you manage your team? If you get too big, I had 12 or 15 people on my team at one time. Too big, right? I've got 9 right now, right? And I think that's the right size for me to manage and do what I want to do. But they all have unique roles. And I've put people in roles with psychological testing that we do to make sure that the person that does my contract to close is in the right position because she's high detail, right? Or the person that's opening doors and showing houses has a great, way with people, right? So Chris has helped me through that over the years. But how do you make up your team? And what advice do you have to our listeners that are agents that might be a single individual agent? When should they go to a team? And then how should they implement their team? There's a lot of ways to have a team. You have buyers agents, selling agents. I don't have any buyer agents or seller agents. I have all support staff that support my specific clients. So how do you make up your team?
So basically how I make up my team and what I coach people to do is a little different. What I coach the agents to do is learn the business inside out and build it up to where you have enough income and stuff going. I believe if they're really working hard, within a year to a year and a half, they should be able to hire an assistant to work with them. And what I always tell them is, look, if I could double your time, if you're working 50 hours a week and you worked 100 hours a week, how much more do you think you'd make? Well, there's got to be a lot of stuff you're doing that doesn't take your talent. You're not the only guy that can do it. So let's look at all the things you do that you wouldn't have to do, as simple as filling up the gas in your car, meeting an inspector, meeting a photographer, all kinds of things that someone else could do for you. Now you're doubling your time. How much?
Right on. Yep.
You doubled your time. And so then I talked to him about, now what about the two of you? What is there that somebody can do that the two of you shouldn't have to be doing? And so I look at it from that angle. But before they increase their lifestyle and buy the bigger house and all that, they need to get the assistant so they can, again, move up their thing. Now, the makeup of my personal team is I always have a couple of people that do all the showings for me. And then I have my administrative assistant, Jen, that handles everything from making appointments to reservations, places, sending flowers. I'm big into sending gifts. Every time we do a listing appointment, she'll send a couple $100 thing of flowers to the homeowner. It's important it goes the day. Like if I go at 10 o'clock in the morning, I want them delivered by 12 or 1. I want anybody else they interview them to be looking at those flowers I sent them, changing the way they think about it. But the flowers say the same thing on them all the time. I know your time is extremely important to you, and I'm very grateful you spent some of it with me. Thank you, Rob. And no one else will send them flowers. No one else will thank them. And you'll stand alone in that department, which I think is very important. And my kill ratio on getting new listings is basically 100%. If I go in the door, I'll get it. I'll miss one.
So you've set your day up where you're doing, call it the 10 or 20% of the process of selling a house, getting a listing, taking it to close. You're doing the 10 or 20% that you are really, really good at. And the other 80%, call it, you have outsourced to very qualified people on your team.
I mean, the funny thing about real estate agents is they all believe they make money by showing houses. I have news for them. A monkey can show a house. You're not going to sell people a home. They're either going to like it or they're not. You're not going to close them into buying it. The money is made by prospecting. Rainmakers make the money. Everything else can be done by somebody else. Now, it takes a nice personality to show a home. Not everybody wants to look at homes with everybody. My team is very good at it. The ladies that work with me, people really love them. They're very personable. But at the end of the day, the most important part of the team is the prospector. That's the person that's bringing in the listings and bringing in the relationships. Everything else can be duplicated.
Yeah.
The rainmaker cannot be duplicated easily.
No.
So
that's
I
huge.
should spend all my time rainmaking. I spend all my time going to private clubs and I go to Mar-a-Lago all the time. I go to Admirals and 1000 North and whatnot, and mingle with all the right people and go to all the right functions. And constantly, I have breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Sometimes as much as 20 out of 21 meals in a week I'll have with clients or prospects. I think meals are extraordinarily important.
And that's incredible. I was at Michael Jordan's restaurant in Jupiter one random time last year, and I'm with a friend, brought my boat over there. We pop in. I see Rob sitting there with Kid Rock. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, like, what? Hey, Rob. Hey, kid. Rob, what's your highest price sale that you've done?
My personal highest price sale was probably 25 million. We've done, stuff up into the 50 million range, but that just wasn't me. It was one of my agents. But my personal is probably 25 million.
Yeah, that's incredible.
It's amazing.
My average sales, I think probably $7 or $8 million, something like that.
So last year, how many houses did you sell?
You have to look at that. I did 85 transactional sides. So I probably did 55 deals, something like that. I double dipped. Like so far this year, I've double dipped 90% of my transactions.
That's because you're controlling the inventory, right? So for listeners out there, right, when inventory is tight and you're competing with other agents, with your buyers to go buy something, if you own and control, or not own, but if you control the listing, you got all the marbles. And just like you said, so you're doing 90% double sided. That's incredible. It's also incredible to me that you did, $445 million with under 100 transactions, right? So I did 450 million last year with 267 transactions. Now, it's just as hard to sell a $1 million house or a $450,000 house than it is a 10 or 12, right? So kudos to you relative to the number of transactions you have and the price point average you have to sell. That's pretty incredible.
Amazing.
Probably gave it away another 150 million to other agents in the company. Wow.
So Rob, where can listeners connect with you? What's the best way to kind of follow along on your journey and get your information?
I'm on Instagram. I'm Rob Thomson Waterfront. That's no P in Thompson. And on Facebook, I'm just Rob Thomson, Thomson. And they can email me at rt@wfpcc.com. And if there's agents that want advice, they're welcome to call me on my mobile, 561-346-1881. Helping the younger agents is great. I mean, if you ask me the most patient, the part about it that I like the most is helping these new agents that work with us, or even agents that have done it for a long time, reach the next level. Helping them figure out that puzzle is so much more rewarding than just doing my own sales. That's kind of, I don't want to say an auto drive, but we have so many clients from the past that call back and say, let's do it again. It's not like doing it with them. I love going with them, especially when I walk in, they have no clue who you are. Now you got to earn it. It's like, wow, we're back to the game again. It almost makes me want to move somewhere so I can start over and prove.
Totally. Rob, I'd let you sell my house.
What?
I just want to hang out with Rob.
We can go down to Florida.
I think we need to make that happen.
You come to Florida and we won't put a snake in your bed.
I like it.
Hey, Bono comes down and my boat captain is severely afraid of snakes. And I'd hit a snake in a place in the boat where he opened it up and it scared him to death. Well, he then took and put it in the bed in my master bedroom on my boat. And Bono and his friends came down or staying on the boat at the marina at Square Grouper on the inlet here. And he calls me up in the middle of the night. I didn't hear the phone ring. I get this message. That's not funny. I can't believe you did that. He jumps out of the bed and bangs his head on the wall.
Just met the guy, unbelievable.
I love it.
Hey, Rob, one final question, that probably everybody wants. What would you say is the one characteristic that you need to be successful in real estate?
Combination of honesty and drive. There's no such thing as a little pregnant or a little dishonest. You're either dishonest or you're not. And if you're dishonest, your days are over before you start.
Yeah.
Wow. Zinga. That's a good one.
Wisdom.
Yeah. That one's going in the book.
Wow. Unbelievable. Well, Rob, thank you so much for your time. I know that you are an incredibly busy guy. I know all the listeners.
Too busy for you.
Well, I know all the listeners are going to love all the wisdom and all the tactics, and especially the technology side that you have. We could all use that in our business. And until next time, Rob, thanks so much. Bono,
Chris,
we're out of here. Talk to you later.
Talk to you later.